You're listening to the Global Ed Podcast, where educators share inspiring and thought-provoking stories from around the world.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Global Ed Podcast. To open the season, I'm speaking with Alaa, who is the principal of Al Hayat International School, or HIS, in Beirut, Lebanon. At the time of recording, Beirut was a conflict zone, with significant bombings occurring on a daily basis. This interview was postponed several times due to Alaa being subject to evacuation orders and safety warnings. Alaa, welcome to the Global Ed Podcast.
Thank you, Gavin, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
As we start, could you tell me a little bit about yourself, please?
Actually, I'm Lebanese and grew up in the vibrant city of Beirut. I'm an IB educator, IB a program leader, and IB evaluation leader. I started in 2014 as curriculum director and PYP coordinator in HIS. And in 2018, I was assigned as the school principal.
Lebanon is a small country in the Middle East. Its location at the crossroads of the Mediterranean Sea and the Arab world has contributed to its rich history and shaped a cultural identity of unique diversity.
Lebanon is a small Mediterranean country with incredible diversity. Its mountains, the beaches, and historic cities, they're all within reach. Its culture actually is a rich mix of ancient history and modern influences, and the Lebanese people are resilient, joyful, and renowned for their hospitality and strong sense of community. That's why you see that after every crisis, Lebanese people are resilient and they are able to live and enjoy life.
Now, you mentioned there that there have been some crises in Lebanon. So could you just give me a brief history of some of the difficulties that the country has had to face in recent years, please?
Actually, in recent years, we've been hit hard by crises. It's been one thing after another: economic collapse, political unrest, COVID-19 pandemic, the Beirut port explosion, and now definitely the impact of regional conflict and war that we were affected by since last year, since October 2023, but it reached the peak this September. In fact, people now, and Lebanon is exhausted. People are drained. The people who were once always having this beautiful smile on their faces, you can go now by the streets. You cannot find this hope. You cannot find anything that's hopeful. So it's a multi-layered crisis that we are not getting out of it till the moment.
Obviously, Lebanon's been through a lot in recent years, but could you just give me a sense of what the education system is like, please?
You know, Gavin, Lebanon has always been known for its education system, and we've taken a lot of pride in that as a nation. For decades, our schools and universities were among the best in the region. We produced exceptional professionals across almost every single field: medicine, engineering, arts, sports. Our university, especially in Beirut, were filled with students from all around the globe, people from the Gulf, people from Jordan, Europe, and even from US and UK. Beirut used to be a hub for academic exchange, actually, where ideas flowed freely and innovation thrived. It wasn't just about education, actually. It was about building a community of diverse minds that could shape for a future.
Alaa, you're the principal of Al Hayat International School. Could you tell me more about the school and how it serves its student body?
It is a place where education goes beyond textbooks and academic achievement. It's a community dedicated to nurturing well-rounded individuals who are prepared not just to go through exams. It is, from its name, it's teaching the students about life and for life. As a school in Lebanon, HIS has been a beacon of hope and resilience, especially during challenging times like the country's recent crises. When it comes to curriculum, we founded it in 2014, and we became, in 2022, HIS became an IB Continuum World School. We offer the PYP, the MYP, and the DP. We offer also the Lebanese program and the American program. program. We ensure that students are well prepared for the global challenges they face, and they will always face, while remaining grounded in the values and the traditions of ourselves, of who we are, and as Lebanese people, and as global citizens.
So, with all that's been happening in Lebanon over the past few years, how has this affected the people and your students?
Actually, the past years and the past months were horrific. As I told you, we've been hit by hard crises during these years, and they were nonstop. They are uncontrollable. Lebanese people are exhausted. Lebanon is not okay. This beautiful city, this beautiful country is not okay. Beirut explosion, actually, this beautiful city in particular, was harmed. It wasn't only physical harm, it's also an emotional harm. Souls in Lebanon are destroyed, and so much hope was lost since then. And we're still losing hope. It's not we as much as the people in Lebanon are still losing hope. Definitely now people are just trying to survive. Families are struggling immensely. People are trying to find ways to stay alive. It's not a normal life at all in Lebanon. As you go down the streets, this is not Lebanon, the smiling city, the smiling country. This is not Beirut, the smiling city. You can see that fear is all over the place. People are not happy.
Israel's airstrikes are massive. Residential buildings are being brought down. The bombardment of Beirut's southern suburb, an area regarded as a Hezbollah stronghold, has been the most intense and heaviest yet.
In recent times, Lebanon and Beirut have been subject to airstrikes. Can you tell me what it's been like for you and the Al Hayat school community, please?
The peak of this was where we opened the news and we were in the schools, actually, Gavin, and you can't imagine how hysterical was it. Just listening to the news, we have students in the schools. We received the news that X and X will start bombing at exactly the noon, starting at noon. And we have to just take away the students, take them to their parents, let the buses move, and we're not sure that we or our students might reach their home safely, because at that time people get down to streets and they were being displaced, just bulks of people, so many cars in the streets. One cannot know where to reach and how to reach. The buses of the schools were out taking the students back to their homes. It was one of the very tough days that I've ever lived. Watching people, I remember that I stayed in the school until all the students were back to their homes. Parents who were trying to reach the school, they were not able to reach the school because we have history of hitting and bombing the connecting tunnels and connecting bridges between the cities, between the suburbs and inside the capital. It's one of the hysterical and tough decisions that we need to make, knowing that we're not sure that we are saving these souls.
Wow. What was your reaction as a school leader having to react and respond to these warnings?
It's like preparations that this military is preparing to start hitting at noon, exactly at noon. So at that time we started it was half an hour before actually. But at the same time, they want to start bombing all over Lebanon. So at that time, the south was already being bombed at that time. So we didn't know how and what's going to happen. It was so much disorientation, so much instability. We were confused. We have people in our hands. We have small kids, 3 years old and 4 years old. We don't know, will they reach their parents or not? It was a really very tough day, and it's still very tough because as you can listen now, you can hear something related to war in the sky as I'm talking to you. Different times we had to change the timings of this podcast because of some bombs. We have to move from place to place. We have to take care of our parents, of our kids, of some of their relatives. So we really don't wish any person goes through what we are living.
How close are the bombings to your school?
It's around our houses, in between our houses, on the roads. It's the first time we postponed this podcast, Gavin, it was just 2 minutes away from my home. And now every day on a daily basis, when we speak of the suburb of Beirut, it means that it's 5 minutes away from the major city. It's 5 minutes away. So it's very close. We hear every single bomb that's happening, every single airstrike that's happening. So as if we are in the middle of the war, actually.
What's been the reaction of the students to the bombings?
Elder students, actually, once they were dismissed to buses or to their parents, we give them back their phones. So they started to have these messages. Maybe there will be bombing actions taking place in a certain places or whatever. So some of them, they started to panic. Some of them, they felt, okay, it's cool. They didn't even imagine that it might be that close to our places, to our homes, actually. So we have this extreme, and actually some students were able to help us in comforting other students, other teachers as well. Some teachers, they were also panicking from the situation.
So with all that is going on, have you been able to maintain learning in your school, or has it all just have to shut down given the circumstances?
On the 23rd of September, when we evacuated the school and called for early dismissal, directly on the 24th and 25th, starting 24th for the first group of students, we started online. We shifted to distance learning, complete distance learning for everyone, teachers, faculty, and students. It's because it was complete unsafe to come to school.
What was it like as a teacher and school leader, having to educate and advise students and their families about how to respond to bombings and airstrikes?
Actually, it's crazy to be an educational institution and have to talk about how to survive bombings. I couldn't have imagined that we might reach this, but we reached it, actually. We have students, actually all of us in Lebanon, all of us, we are having bombs around our homes. We all experiencing what it means to have a whole building falling down, being destroyed just with one strike. So our homes were full of dusts just because the buildings around us are being bombed, actually. So that's why to reach the whole community, actually, we cannot in every single online class or in every single section, or we cannot reach every single home in Lebanon to tell them how to do that. The best way is to use the social media, because we are living in this country, we are around, and the people who follow you on social media, they are mostly from this country. So this might help them how to work with, how to deal with bombings around them, how to stay safe as much as possible, how to close the doors, how to deal with toxic gases that is being emitted due to bombings. So all of these, they are like awareness campaigns for our people of how to do that.
Given all that the school community is having to deal with, how are your students coping?
Students are not well, definitely. They are not well. And actually, education is not well at all. So, students' well being, once on the 4th of November, we announced that we are returning back to high flex education because we have some students who are passing through severe mental breakdown during this. So, it's time to give students the chance to either join if they want to join, if they are close to the school, and maybe this the social connection with other friends, with other kids, it brings hope to the student. And definitely, you can't imagine, Gavin, how hopeful it was. It was a window of hope for the students, and we didn't imagine that 50% of our student body will return despite of anything else. So we have 50% of our student body coming to school now just because they are mentally not okay at home, just listening to the news, just seeing what's happening in the bombs, what are the effects of this bombed area, what happened to this family, what happened to that family. So this brought hope to the students.
50 years ago, a group of pioneers dreamt of bringing about peace through education. The International Baccalaureate was born. From the outset, it offered a different kind of learning, emphasizing intercultural understanding and respect.
HIS is an IB World School and you are an IB educator, so you'd be used to teaching a message of intercultural understanding and peace. However, given the current situation, that must be a real challenge for you in the school at the moment.
It's painful. You know, Gavin, the contradiction between peace education and the real world is so stark. Traditional education tends to focus on teaching students ideals like justice, equality, and peace. These are, of course, so important, but the reality is that it often stops there. It often stops there. It doesn't equip students to deal with the actual conflicts, inequalities, or injustices that they see around them. And honestly, when you look at the global politics today, the power struggles, the political shifts, and the widening divisions, you can't deny that this gap is one of the greatest shortcomings of the modern education. And actually, how can we expect students to shape a better world if we only teach them about what should be and not prepare them for what is? That's why I believe we need to rethink education. And it's not enough to teach ideals. We also need to teach students how to navigate the complexities, the contradictions of the world they're living in. We need to foster students who think critically, who can hold two truths at once. The truth that the hope for peace, and the other one, the reality of conflict. And this is life. They need to learn how to ask the hard questions, challenge systems that perpetuate harm, imagine new alternatives. They need to see that while the world may feel dominated by merciless powers today, it doesn't have to stay that way, actually. And I've written that in my article, Drowned Out by Missiles, Education in Times of War. I wrote it actually after a particularly terrifying night in Beirut. I remember holding my daughter's hands while they were crying so much, while missiles rained down. My husband was out and I felt completely disoriented and hopeless. I didn't know how to escape. I didn't know even where we could go to find safety. In that moment, I felt such a strong connection to what my students might feel.
Thank you for sharing about your experiences and your thoughts. It's hard to imagine being in your situation. I'm really not sure where I would start if I had to teach about peace and understanding while I was under attack.
Actually, Gavin, we're living this discrepancy, and living this discrepancy is one of the most profound challenges I face as an educator, we face as schools. On one hand, we deeply believe in the ideals of peace, compassion, and hope, while on the other hand, we are confronted daily with the harsh reality of war, injustice, and violence. And this tension definitely creates an emotional weight that's difficult to carry, not just as educators, but as human beings as well. So, teaching peace during times of war feels like planting seeds in barren soil. You have to believe in the possibility of growth, even when the environment seems entirely hostile to it. And it is about finding moments of light and hope amidst the darkness, and clinging to those as reminders of what's possible. For me, teaching peace and helping students to think about we need to live for a peaceful world. So teaching about that in this context means going beyond words. It is not just about talking to students about peace. It's about modeling it. It's about showing them how to handle conflict with empathy, how to listen, how to understand others, how to take compassionate actions. In times of war, these lessons become more than academic, actually. They become urgent.
Thank you, Alaa, for sharing your thinking. It's very challenging for sure. You just mentioned the importance of finding some moments of light and hope. So in your current circumstances, are you able to find any moments of joy?
Definitely, we create moments of joy. We have these coffee mornings with the team members, whereby we don't want to talk about anything, just share things. We don't want anyone to share bad things. We don't want to share anything about bombs, just the jokes, happiness. So we do them every now and then. So I don't know if you can hear. A big bomb happened now, actually. Unfortunately, that's why there are lots of ambulances. Okay, going back, we create moments of joy because we need to be moving forward. We cannot stay sad or just unhappy with things. We are living actually these moments, but we need to create a moment of hope. You know, Gavin, diplomacy for a peaceful world does feel like a distant dream right now. When you look at the conflicts around us, the entrenched power structures, and the way so many systems prioritize division over unity, it can feel almost impossible to imagine a world where diplomacy truly leads to peace. But here's the thing, just because it feels distant doesn't mean it isn't worth fighting for. And perhaps that's the key, acknowledging that this fight for peace might not be won through the systems of power we see today. Those systems often feel immovable. I believe in something much more enduring and transformative. I believe in the potential of the minds we are shaping in our classrooms. Maybe they are the hope for us. And education is where the seeds of diplomacy, understanding, and empathy are planted. In our classrooms, we're not just teaching subjects like math, sciences, or history. We're teaching students how to think critically, how to listen deeply, how to see the humanity in others, even those they might see as their opponents, actually.
Thank you, Alaa. I think what you've just shared is a challenge for all of us to consider as we seek to create a more peaceful world. What is something you have learned through your experiences, please?
Even when you feel it's futile, so go and do it. It teaches us that our responsibility is to act, not just for immediate results, but because every action we take, it contributes to something bigger than ourselves. So planting a seed of hope, whether it benefits us in the short term or not, it is an act of faith and courage. And definitely at HIS, we embody this philosophy. The efforts to maintain education go beyond academics. We have focused on creating a sense of normalcy, stability in the lives of our students and staff. And examples of these, now it's the moment for serving others. Now it's the moment to be creative. Now it is the moment to do something. This gives the students and the team members the chance to engage with the communities, and it helps those who need us.
What are your hopes for the nation of Lebanon and its people?
My hope for Lebanon is rooted in its greatest strength, actually, its people. I hope for a future where education is no longer a privilege, but a guaranteed right for every child, no matter their background, their challenges, or the crises around them. I dream of a Lebanon where students grow into leaders, innovators, and change makers. Young people who can rebuild what's been lost with compassion, creativity, and resilience. I dream of a Lebanon where education isn't just about academics, but about shaping citizens who value respect, empathy, and care for one another. And definitely to me, this is about more than just Lebanon. The challenge we face here, whether it is war, economic instability, or systemic inequality, they are actually reflected in so many parts of the world. And by investing in education, we're creating a ripple effect. So every child who learns the values of peace, critical thinking, and resilience carries those lessons with them wherever they go.
As we draw to a close, what is your final message to the young people of Lebanon and Al Hayat International School?
This is where real change begins. If we want a more peaceful world, it won't come from the top down. It will come from the young people who grow up understanding both the harshness of reality and the ideals of peace, actually. These are the future leaders who can rewrite the systems. Don't we teach them how to give ideas, how to propose things? They have to rewrite the systems that perpetuate conflict, inequality, and injustice. And to me, education is an act of resistance and hope. How? It is resistance against the forces that say things will always stay the same and change is impossible and such things. And it is hope because in every student, I see the possibility of a different kind of world. I see a world where diplomacy isn't a dream, but a lived reality. We have to be fueled by hope. And it is only by hope that it will allow us to move forward with our students and with our communities.
Alaa, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your story. I wish safety and peace for you, your family, your students, and the nation of Lebanon.
Thank you, Gavin, for giving me this platform to share my story and my vision. It is my hope that through education, we can inspire resilience and hope. And not just here, again, in Lebanon, but everywhere. And because even in the darkest times, I believe education holds the power to create brighter and more peaceful world, hopefully.
Thanks, Alaa. It's been great talking with you.
Thank you, Gavin.
Next time on the Global Ed Podcast.
It was absolutely traumatic. They were indoctrinated into believing that their family and lifeways and homelands that they loved were wrong and bad. It was his phrase, kill the Indian, save the man, that there was a human inside this being, that if you removed their native identity, they could be saved.
In the next episode, I speak with Lynn from the Shoshone-Paiute Nation in Nevada, USA. Lynn shares the cultural genocide that her tribe experienced through the education system and how, as the principal of the local school, she is seeking to heal and restore future generations. If you have enjoyed listening to the Global Ed podcast, please subscribe and follow me, Gavin Kinch, on LinkedIn.